Oh, very excited here. Welcome everybody to a very special event today. My name is Samson Lee. I'm your MC. Are you guys ready for a fantastic day today? Yeah. Very good. I can feel the energy. Yes? Well, give yourselves a big hand, huh? Come on. Well, I'm very excited to be with all of you today, and we're going to share an incredible event with some world-class speakers. I know you're very anxious, and I know many of you out there, you come all this way, and many of you actually today, we have people coming from New York. We'll give them a hand. Nebraska, Canada, San Francisco, Hong Kong. Now, there's a lot of value in what we're going to offer today, and these speakers we have today, they are truly givers in this world that we live in. And it's sometimes in life that we come upon these very special people. They're a light that shines so bright. And today, the first person I'm very privileged to introduce him is an incredible gentleman that I've known him through a very dear friend of mine, Kim Hui. And this gentleman has helped millions, literally millions of people strive for success, get motivated for success, put their backs to success. He's known, I still remember listening to his recording, he's Mr. Motivator. But, he's a very well-known speaker. He's one of the top 5 speakers in the world regarded by Toastmasters. Give him a hand, come on. He's an author, radio personality. He was elected to Ohio legislature before, and we're very privileged to have him tonight to give us a piece of what it takes to be successful. So, if you can help me, give him a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Les Brown.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You may be seated. I want to thank the U.S. Global System for having me here to be able to spend some time with you. Let's give Kim Hui a round of applause, if you please. And Yvonne, give her a round of applause. Thank you very kindly. And of course, Samson once again, yes. I've been thinking about what this presentation will be and reflecting on that. Many of you have seen me speak, the incredible experience we had, an opportunity to be in Hong Kong, and I really enjoyed being there. And the love, the energy, the people that we had the opportunity to spend some time with. And at this stage of my life, reflecting on this past December, I lost a lot of friends. It was unusual. People that I've spoken with, Wayne Dyer, who was a great voice in self-development for many years, and he and I had the same mentor. And so this thing called life that, Forrest Gump was right. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And that's all I got to say about that. I want you to meet Dr. Julie Van Putten, my partner. Give her a round of applause right here, please. We're talking about life, and I want you to write this down, please. Maximize your time. Maximize your time. I had a plan of action that Wayne Dyer and I were planning on doing a PBS special. And we kept pushing the date back when we would have that meeting. We took it for granted that both of us would be here. And he was coming to Orlando, where I live. And 2 weeks prior to him coming, he had a massive heart attack. And so at this stage of my life, I want to talk to you about maximizing your time. People talk about goals and success, but Aurelia said, and I think it's real, stop living like you have 1,000 years to live. And I'm 70 years old. And so thank you, yeah. And they said life is interesting that the older you get, it seems like the time moves faster. I remember when I thought people in their 40s were old. Now that I'm 70, I said, oh my goodness, I feel like I served at the Lord's Supper. So it's been an interesting experience. So I want to share with you some things that I've learned over these 70 years of doing this. And I want you to think about some goals and dreams that you'd like to achieve. And I want you to shake someone's hand on your right and left, look them in the eyes and say, you have greatness in you. Do that right now. Shake someone's hand and say, you have greatness within you. Yes, do it with somebody else. Say, you have greatness. And say it with conviction like you mean it. You have greatness within you. How many of you are leaders? Raise your hands, please. How many of you are entrepreneurs? Raise your hands, please. How many of you are ever involved in presenting for people? Raise your hands, please. Very good. So I'm going to share some techniques and strategies with you on how to begin to impact people more when you present. How many of you like to learn how to do that? Raise your hands. How many of you like to learn how you can begin to become a resource for people and be seen as a global voice of change? Raise your hands. Very good. Now, I'm going to share with you my journey, and the things that I'm going to share with you, this will be your best year ever. Trust me on this. This will be your best year ever. How many of you agree with me on that? Yes. Very, very good. So I'm going to share with you just being involved in business and as an entrepreneur, things that I've learned that has literally changed my life. You have a story. Write this down. Energy signature. You have an energy signature. And that energy signature represents your story. Once you think about the time that I spend with you, the goals that you want to achieve in 2016 and beyond. And I am so glad to go before Kim Wheat because she's going to burn it up. But I'm going to have it hot before she gets up here. You know, a young broom sweep clean, but an old broom know where to go. So I want you to dim the lights. I want to show you something in my slide presentation. I want you to think about your goals and dreams and things that you want to achieve with your life, making this year your best year ever. And so as you think about that, I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. We were 6 weeks of age. We were adopted by this lady here, Mrs. Mamie Brown. And this is my twin brother, Wesley. Which one am I? Am I on the right or your left? Which one? Yeah, I'm the cute one now. I'm the cute one. No, I'm on the left. And so we were 6 weeks of age. She adopted us. She was a domestic worker on Miami Beach. She worked for wealthy families. And she adopted Wesley and I. Then shortly thereafter, she adopted 5 other children. And so she never had any children herself. She had a 3rd grade education. She cooked for these families on Miami Beach. And whatever food was left over, she would bring it home to us to eat. They were very kind and generous. Said, Mamie, whatever food is left over, you can take it home and feed those 7 children that you have adopted. And so my first dream was to be able to buy groceries for our family. She kept their children, and we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that she kept. And so the environment that I came up in was an environment of poverty. That's sugarcane. Anybody ever had sugarcane before? Raise your hand. You ever had sugarcane? Yeah. And so the environment, and the reason I share this with you, those of you, how many of you will be presenting to people? Raise your hands, please. Okay, now write this down. How people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. The story. So the environment that I came up in was extreme poverty. And they did a study, Dr. Seligman, in a book called Learned Optimism. And it's important for all of us, and particularly as business people, as entrepreneurs, that what we believe about ourselves, the things that we embrace, the things that we observe, those things that we see between the ages of 0 and 5 will affect our view of the world. It will determine between 0 and 5, we determine what's available to us and what's not available to us. And so it's very important what you're doing right now. You have something special. You have greatness within you. Most people don't realize the importance of restructuring their thinking and their belief system and working to create a new story for themselves. When we finish with this presentation, you're going to start writing a new chapter in your life. Because given the circumstances that I was born in, and this lady who only had a 3rd grade education, and when I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I have no college training, but there are some things that I learned from a gentleman that I eulogized him earlier last year. He passed, Mr. Leroy Washington. I met him. I came in his class looking for another student. He said, "Young man, go to the board and work this problem out for me." And I said, "Oh, sir, I can't do that. I'm here to see MacArthur Stevens." He said, "Go to the board and work it out anyhow." And the student started laughing, saying, "He's Leslie. He's a twin. His brother's smart. He's Leslie. He's DT." He said, "What's DT?" And he said, "He's the dumb twin." And I said, "I am, sir." And he came from behind his desk. He looked at me. He said, "Don't ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality." Now, my mother used to say, when I would get in fights with kids calling me DT, "Leslie, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you." How many know words can hurt you? Raise your hands, please. Yes, but Mr. Washington said, someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Right? This is what you are doing, and this is what I'm doing right now. He interrupted my story. Write this down. Interrupt the story. Everybody you speak to, everyone you see, one-on-one, small groups, they have a story that they have embraced. They have a story that unconsciously, that they've determined that this is the way life is. And as a result of the stories that they are exposed to, things that's spoken into their lives, they begin to live unconsciously throughout that reality. That we go through life, studies indicate that 90% of our behavior is governed by our unconscious mind, unconscious thoughts that we've embraced, that we learn from our parents, from our teachers, from our environment, and people that we see. And so I want you to write this down. Compelling reasons. I had a compelling reason that I wanted to change my life. I wanted to be able to buy groceries for our family. I wanted to be able to buy clothes for us. I remember riding across the Venetian Causeway and looking at the big, beautiful mansions on Miami Beach. And I said, "Mama," and my mother said, "What is it, Leslie?" I said, "When I become a man, I'm going to buy you a big, beautiful mansion just like that one over there." You know, kids have imagination. And so she would say, "You don't have to do that." And I said, "I know, Mama, but I want to. But there's something I discovered. Live out of your imagination, not your history." Einstein said the imagination is the preview of what's to come. And so fortunately for me, and it was very fortunate, and there's some things you can't see looking forward, but you can see looking back. The family that we work for, the Sidursky family, Mr. Sidursky used to love to listen to motivational messages every day. He listened to a guy named Earl Nightingale lead the field. The strangest secret in the world, we become what we think about. All of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. Zig Ziglar, if you give enough people what they want, they will give you what you want. Jim Rohn, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. Winston Churchill, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end, there it is. I was shining his shoes, and unbeknownst to me, by listening to these messages on a regular basis, it began to change my values. It began to change my vision of myself. It began to expand my world. How many of you are ready for your world to be expanded? Raise your hands, please. And no one could have looked at my beginning, looking at my brothers and sisters when we were raised, that because of the principles and things that I'm going to share with you, that we've been able to impact millions of people's lives around the world and earn millions of dollars doing what I love to do. How many of you like to do that? Raise your hands, please. Very good. And so the first thing, as I said, living out of your imagination. So I want you to think about something this next chapter. This is a brand new year. A lot of people saying, Happy New Year. It cannot be a new year unless there's a new you. How many of you understand that? So I want to ask you this question. What is it you want? 2016, what's going to be different for you? This stage of my life at 70, I'm a grandfather and I'm a great-grandfather. And so I'm working on my great-grandchildren's education. I'm working on the legacy for our family. I'm working on building the business that I'm in so that I would be able to impact my family's financial future and the kind of future they will have because of the things that I'm doing right now. I'm emulating the example of Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie has been generating millions of dollars for his family because of his legacy. Dale Carnegie course. He's been gone for 51 years, but every year someone is teaching his course and generating income for his family. How many of you like to be able to generate income for your family after you're gone? Raise your hands, please. Okay, be able to make an impact after you're gone. Does that make sense to you? Is that something to work toward? Most people just trying to survive. Most people, when they die, they leave liabilities rather than build a legacy. And so being here, this organization is designed to help you to build a legacy. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, I'm ready for that. Do that right now. Say, I'm ready for that. Yeah. And so as you think about your goals and dreams, that what's important is that I want you to get a 3x5 card and get it today. And on one side, have the major goal that you want to achieve. Major goal that you want to achieve. And right under that goal, a picture of it. I want you to write under that, I give thanks for the accomplishment of my goal, as if it's already done. All right? Write this down. Assume that you've already done it. Assume the state of mind. You want to live your life from a place of assumption. You want to have an attitude that I've done this already. Goals are accomplished twice. First in the mind and then in the without. I needed to know whether or not these principles work. Given the circumstances that I was born in, I needed to see and use myself as an experiment. Now my children are speakers and trainers and authors. And so I can tell you, based upon my experience, things I share with you, I don't believe these things. These are things that I know. I earn more in 1 hour than 90% of the American public earn working for a whole year using these principles. And I'm not telling you this to impress you, but to impress upon you, you have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more. And the key is to, and this is what this organization and leadership skills you're going to develop and the things that you work with others, the key, and everybody repeat after me, please. Distract. Dispute. Inspire. Said with conviction. Everybody follow my example, please. Distract. Dispute. Inspire. And so every day we have to work on ourselves to distract ourselves from the things that's been put in our minds that we know they don't serve us. We live in a world where we're told more about our limitations rather than our potential. How many have ever been told you could not do something? Raise your hands, please. Good. Now, MIT did a study. Study indicated if I say to you, you can't do that, somebody else has to come along and say, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it 17 times to neutralize that one time. That's why my favorite book says faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. So we have to consciously, see, we can't control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on. And so what we have to do is every day distract ourselves from the negative thoughts that's in our mind. Studies indicate that 87% of our negative self-talk goes undetected by the conscious mind. I want you to write this down, lesbrownmotivation.com. Write this down now, lesbrownmotivation.com. And this is a ritual that I want you to embrace. There are 3 videos there. One called, It's Not Over Till I Win. I'm speaking to over 80,000 people in the Georgia Dome. Next one is called You Deserve, a PBS special that I did. They paid me $8 million to do it. And the next one is called It's Possible. Spoke to 12,000 people in Chicago. As a part of your ritual to distract the negative thoughts that's in your mind, I'm encouraging you to make this a part of your self-development ritual of watching those videos for the first 90 days. Just watch them every day. And you're going to learn a lot of things that we don't have the ability and the time right now to cover, but it will begin to expand your vision of yourself. You will begin to see and understand things about yourself, things that I'm explaining to you and sharing with you that will allow you to begin to have this to be your greatest year ever. I started off telling you my story. Born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section of Miami, Florida, in Liberty City. Your story does not have to be a down and out story. Your story can be something you've experienced. Your story can be something that you've observed. Your story can be somebody else's story. A friend of mine by the name of Kim went to go to a meeting that in this particular meeting she would be negotiating a new contract for herself, and as a person in business, this was something she was excited about doing. And things did not turn out the way that she wanted them to be. How many of you had something that was set up for you? You thought it was going to turn out one way, and it turned out to be another way. Raise your hands, please. Write this down, transition. And so my friend Kim, when she went to the meeting, it was a disappointment. They decided not to do it. They changed their minds. And on the way back home, Kim made a decision. How many of you know that there are things that happen to you in life at certain points in times that you have to make a major decision about what you're going to do with your life? How many of you have ever been in that situation? Raise your hands, please. And so on the way back home, as Kim was thinking about what she was going to do next, she heard something that triggered with her and resonated with her mind and spirit, and she made a crucial decision that she was going to take charge of her life. Everybody repeat after me, please. Take charge of your life. Now, so just with Kim's story, I can show you how you'd make an extra $100,000 or $200,000 in 2016 building your business and using a story as an example, because all of us has been in situations where we're disappointed, been in situations where we had to make a major decision. And so she decided to take charge of her life. How many of you are ready for that? Raise your hands, please. Now, write this down. Knowledge is the new currency. Knowledge is the new currency. So your ability to tell your story, your ability to share your knowledge, your ability to share your experiences, your ability to create an environment when you speak to people that they leave your presence feeling better about themselves but talking about you. Why is it important to learn how to tell your story or to communicate? Write this down. When you speak, people are asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so no one could have told me the things I'm sharing with you now. These are things that when I speak for AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, DirecTV, I start off with my story. Next thing is create value. It's not just about the story. It's about creating value for the audience so that as they listen to you, they become empowered. As they listen to you, they begin to see the possibility of how they can begin to expand their world, the possibility of how they can improve their customer service, the possibility on how they can bring the best out of the people that they're working with, the possibility on how they can increase their revenue. I had no idea. The things that I'm doing now that is a result of effectively communicating a story and being strategic and using my energy signature, I had no idea that the kind of impact that I would be able to make where while I'm speaking, someone's phone goes off. We'll wait till you go ahead and get your conversation through, and then we'll proceed. One time I was on stage and the phone went off. And I said, "Excuse me, we said to people in the beginning of the presentation, please turn your phones off." And the lady in the front row said, "That's your phone that's ringing." I said, "I was just testing y'all." Thank you so much for taking care of that for us. And so the key is with your story, the key with your energy signature, and write this down, this is major, is to create an experience. See, a lot of people think, "Oh, I don't have a college education. I didn't do this for 14 years. I don't have a college education. How can I compete with people with PhDs and MBAs?" There's no way that AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric will reach over people with credentials and experience that I don't have and hire me to come in and teach them how to do something I've never done. How many ever thought about something you wanted to do and you talk yourself out of it? Raise your hands, please. So that's what I did for 14 years. I just could not see how AT&T, IBM, Coca-Cola, these corporations would see me as a credible source to come in and train their people. I just couldn't see it. Write this down. Empower yourself. See, what I had to do, my friend Mike Williams, who saw this Les Brown that you now see that I did not see, he said, "Brownie, you are more than a disc jockey." I was working in radio at the time. "Brownie, you can do more than just make people feel good and entertain people. Brownie, you love Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and all these other guys, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, because they're doing what you love to do. You love to help people." How many of you love to help people? Raise your hands, please. So that's a passion of mine. He knew that. See, I believe that you weren't born to work for a living, but to live your making, and living your making will make your living. And so this year is going to be your greatest year ever. Using the techniques and strategies that I share with you, the major key is selling you on you. I just couldn't see it. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean you can't do it. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you. What's most important is every day you have to sell yourself. I'm a 20-year cancer conqueror. Every day I have to sell myself that I am going to continue to win this fight. I beat cancer so bad, the cancer rate in my neighborhood dropped by 40%. Yes, indeed. So as you look at your goals and dreams, you have to sell yourself. You listen to motivational messages every day. Listen to, "It's not over till I win," "It's possible," "You deserve," every day, and other things that you have to continue to reprogram your mind for the things that you want to achieve. Let us say together, it's necessary. See, the people that are going to make their dreams become true, the people that will make this the best year you've ever had in your life, is the people that say, "I've got to do this." I told my mother, "Mama, I'm going to buy your home." And my brothers and sisters wouldn't join me on that because they didn't believe that it was possible. But because I was listening to these messages, as I was shining Mr. Swiderski's shoes every day, it began to sell me on this Les Brown that you now see. And I remember taking a picture of the home that I wanted to purchase for Mama, but I wanted to make sure she would love it. I drove in the area of North Miami Beach, and she said, "Leslie, slow down." And I said, "What is it, Mama?" She said, "Look at that big, beautiful home. Boy, if I lived in something like that, I would feel like Mrs. Rockefeller." Mrs. Rockefeller was the wife of John D. Rockefeller. And so Mama, she loved that home. And we used to just drive in different areas of Miami Beach to fantasize about what we wanted one day. It was just a fantasy. And so I said, you really like that? She said, yes. I got a contract on the home. And I wrote on there, I give thanks. I just got involved in the speaking business. I was a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio. My mother became ill. My brothers and sisters and I had a dispute. I was not going to put her in a nursing home. And they said it would be much easier. I said it would have been easier for her not to adopt 7 children, too. I said, no. I said, we can do that. See, I believe that if one woman can raise 7 children who couldn't take care of themselves, 7 grown people can take care of one woman. Does that make sense? Yes. And so, yeah. And so that was my mindset. It was necessary for me in some way, Samson, to say thank you. She was 46 years old. To say thank you. You didn't have to do this. Judge a person not by what they do, but what they do that they don't have to do. And I did not know how I was going to get the house, but I knew that I was going to do it. How many of you don't know how this is going to be your best year ever, but you know that it is? Raise your hands, please. See, there are some things that you can know in your heart that cannot be processed by the mind. Trust me on this. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I experience. I'm telling you what I live. When I say you have greatness within you, this is no slogan. This is what I know. And I owe you a debt, because when Mike Williams said to me, Les Brown, you can do more than you are now doing, and he convinced me to believe in this, Les Brown, I remember asking him, man, what can I do to pay you back? He said, pass it on. So I'm just passing it on. Now, and I know every negative thought you have in your mind, because I've been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. So if you don't want to continue to live a mediocre life, you better leave here right now, because I'm coming for you. I'm an assassin. I'm going to take you out. And so I got the contract, created my business. I was doing multi-level marketing at a time that most of you weren't even born. This is early on with Best Line Products and Dare to Be Great and different other people that were involved in the industry, the early stages of the game, Holiday Magic. And so I drove back in the area to make sure Mama would want the house. And I'd already worked out everything. And she said, Leslie, slow down. I said, what is it? She said, there's that house again. I said, you really like that, don't you? She said, yes. I said, Mama, I know the people. I said, let me take you there and introduce you to them, and they'll show you around the house. She said, for true? I said, yes, ma'am. So I drove up to the house. Mama, at that time, she was 78. I opened the door, and I started walking toward the house. She was holding on my arm. She stopped. She said, Les, are you sure you knew these people? I said, yes, ma'am, Mama, I do. And so we walked up to the door, and I couldn't hold it anymore. I put the key in and turned the key and opened the door. I said, Mrs. Rockefeller, this is your home. She said, what are you talking about, Leslie? I said, Mama, this is your home. I bought this for you. She said, you did what? I said, I bought this for you. It's fully furnished. It's yours. She looked at me. She stuck her head in the door. She said, anybody home? I said, no, Mama, this is your home. I got this for you. She looked at me in a feeling of disbelief. Like, I can't believe this. And she walked in, and she started looking around. She said, oh, nobody could have ever told me something like this would happen to me. I said, Mama, I know, but you deserve it. She said, but you were so crazy as a kid. I said, I know, but I got money now. And that day was the happiest moment of my life. And as a result of one, programming my mind, I give thanks this home that I purchased for my mother. She will be extremely happy in. On the flip side, I had on it, asking it shall be given, seeking ye shall find, knocking it shall be open. Every day I read it 3, 4, 5 times a day, listening to positive messages every day to program my mind for success. You have to program your mind for success. And then I had to create some value. I had to learn how to begin to speak the language of corporations. I had to learn how to begin to carry myself differently and dress differently. But most important, I had to act like I was the man. I had to act like this is my time. I own my life. I had to start thinking I have the ability to do this, and I had the mindset that I'm unstoppable. Write this down and write the statement, I'm unstoppable. And it's very important for you to embrace that, because there are things going to happen that you can't anticipate. And that you have to remind yourself you're unstoppable, that you have the ability to do more. Obstacles will be thrown in your path. That's a part of the process. Man looked at me and said 3 words no one ever wants to hear. You have cancer. Most feared words in 7 different languages. You have cancer. I said, can you give me a second opinion? Yes, and you're ugly too. I'm just wrong. I'm sorry, I got problems, all right? and so you have to sell yourself on you, and you have to decide in your mind, just like Kim did, it's necessary that I create a new life for myself. It's necessary that I find another way to control my own personal economy. It's necessary that I learn how to become my own boss. And that's what many of you here are doing. That many of you here, it's not possible for you to continue to work for someone else for the rest of your life because you're not mentally fit to do that. It's necessary that you create a new life for yourself because it's in you to control your own destiny. Everybody raise your right hand, please. Put it over your heart, please. Repeat after me, please. I resolve to do all that I can to create a new life for myself, for my family, for those that I care about. Have more time for myself. Do the things that I enjoy. Purchase the things that I want. To be debt-free. To be healthy. Positive relationships. I own my life. I deserve the best that life has to offer. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, get ready to go big. Get ready to go big. Do that right now. I see this for you. You got to make up your mind to get ready to go big. You can't fit a big life into a small vision. You have to have an expanded vision of yourself. You have to believe and understand what Einstein meant when he said that the imagination is a preview of what's to come. Live in your imagination. See these things happening for you. And have a conviction that it's yours. Have a conviction that it's your time. I never forget when I had to speak in the Georgia Dome before 80,000 people. I made the mistake of peeping out there, and I was traumatized. When I get excited, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm talking about number one, So anyhow, I ran to the bathroom. They came and knocked on the door. Les, yes, they're stalling. Dexter needs you to come out now. They're stalling so that you can come out now and be introduced. And I said, I can't think. You can't think. No, I don't know what's wrong. I can't hear the voices. Brownie, Mike Williams, my mentor. Brownie, listen to me. You can do this. Mike, I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I just don't know. I'm choking, Mike. He said, Brownie, this is no time to choke. These people have paid you. You've already spent the money. They're waiting on you. You got to come out now. I said, oh my God. I said, okay, give me a little bit more time. He said, no, come out now. You're scared, aren't you? I said, yes. He said, come out. So I came out, and so they started walking me toward the stage. People never know what's going on behind the stage. So I said, well, will y'all pray for me? Now, I hadn't been to church in 20 years. So they said, yes. So they prayed for me. Then I took their hands and put it on my head. As if that would help. And so he said to me, I'll be at stage left. Look at me and imagine yourself talking to the groups that you speak to in your living room. Imagine yourself being in your living room. Don't let them intimidate you. They came to see you. You didn't come to see them. Write this down. Have someone in your life who can see in you what you can't see. Have someone that believes in you. Sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. And so I did that. I visualized myself being in my living room. I visualized myself speaking to my friends, to my plants, to my children, because I use them as experiments. And finally, when I came out, they introduced me. I looked at him, and he kept saying, oh. And I said, hello. And the echo came back. They couldn't prepare me for this. And the voice said, hello, hello, hello. I looked at him. He says, I said, you have greatness in you. He said, you have greatness in you. You have greatness in you. And you will see me on stage looking at people like, Mike, what do I do now? He says, don't listen to it. Keep going. Everybody repeat after me, please. Keep going. There will always be distractions. The key is don't focus on the distractions. The key is to keep going. The key is to keep your mind focused on what you want to create, a brand new life. The key when you run into no's and rejections and people who promise, oh, I'll be there, you can believe, I will support you, oh yes, I'm interested, and they don't show up. Don't focus on that. Don't focus on the rejections. Don't focus on the no's. The key is to focus on that vision that you have in your mind of that brand new home, in your mind of that brand new car, in your mind of being able to control your own financial future. That's what's important because, and write this down, what you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. It becomes the strongest. If you focus on your bills, if you focus on the negativity, the people who say, no, this can't work, that will become more powerful in your mind. I'm telling you what I know. Had I listened to those negative thoughts in my head or the negative people around me, I would not be here now. I got a text this morning from a friend of mine who worked for DirecTV. Had I listened to the people who told me there's no way that these major corporations are going to hire you and you have no credentials, you have no credibility, that man would not be calling me to come in and speak for them for the seventh time. And I'm saying to you that there's a part of you, there's a presence in you, there's a dimension in you, there's something in you that can transcend your circumstances, that can transcend the no's and rejections, that can transcend anything that you're going through. Let us say together with conviction, I can do this. Come on, everybody, join in, participate. I can do this. It's my time. It's necessary. I've got to make a radical change. How many of you know if you want a new year, you've got to make a radical change in your mindset, your behavior, and the things you've been doing? Raise your hands, please. You have to have a mindset. I'm going to do this. I'm telling you, I never forget when I went to see Dexter Yeager. Guy makes $1 million every 17 hours in Amway. And when I was at his house, we spent a whole day together. I remember looking at him, just an average guy, puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like I do. And I just said to myself, if this guy can do it, I can do it. And then I was at a meeting. A speaker was up. I was at the National Speakers Association. guy got up and they talked about the fact this guy had made millions of dollars and how successful he was. And when he was speaking, I said, my goodness, man, this guy is boring. He said something that changed my life. He paused. He said, I know there are many of you out in the audience who have ideas and thoughts and education that I don't have. I know many of you perhaps are more entertaining than I am. I'm, for the most part, an introvert. And I've made more money than all of you in this room. All of you combined in this room. I've made more money than all of you. And he said, the reason I'm standing up here and you're seated out there, and you want to write this down, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. Wow, that's heavy. The reason I'm standing up here and you're seated out there, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. And when he said that, I got up, I went outside, I called Mike Williams. I said, Mike, I'm ready. He said, Les, are you all right? I said, no, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. He said, Brownie, calm down. I said, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. I'm ready, Mike. I'm ready, Mike. Please come. I was in Miami. He was in Columbus, Ohio. I was crying like a kid because I realized I was stopping myself. The fourth, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. I was stopping me. What we learn, what we earn, what we produce is a direct result of what we believe about ourselves and what we believe that we deserve. And I felt that my family deserved more from me, that if the truth be told, if I had my life to live over again, I could have done more than what I've done thus far. How many of you know that? If you had your life to live over again, you could have done more than what you've done thus far. Raise your hands, please. All right? Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, no more excuses. I'm doing more. Yeah. You got to say to yourself, no more excuses. I'm doing more. I'm going to do whatever is required. A.L. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do. And ladies and gentlemen, you know why only 1% of the world earn over $1 million in their lifetime? Because most people are not willing to do the work. And I've done it 65 times, I'm telling you. And you have to work. You have to work. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. All thy ways acknowledge him. He shall direct thy path. You've got to be willing to work. Most people, only 1% are willing to do the work. So don't be surprised you run into all the pigeons. Don't let that discourage you. Become encouraged by that. Every no. Write this down. Make no your vitamin. Make it your vitamin. Every no you run into brings you closer to yes. Get those pigeons out of the way. You're looking for eagles. We can run into pigeons and leave here now. We'll find some pigeons, but you won't find eagles. It takes some time. Write this down. I'm going to save you time and cause you to make more money. Follow these P's. Number one, positive. I don't talk to people. When I get a phone call, I look at it. If it's not a positive call, I'm not going to pick it up. Next thing, productive. If it's not something that's going to allow me to build my business, if it's not something that's going to encourage me, that's going to enhance my thinking, that can help me to get to where I'm going to go, I don't have time to waste. So I'm looking for productive conversations. Here's the next thing, profitable. I don't want relationships with people that there's no value in it for me and there's no value in it for them. I don't make casual relationships. Aristotle Onassis, who was one of the husbands of Jackie Onassis, he said he had no casual relationships. All the relationships that he had were relationships with people that brought value into his life, and he brought value into their lives. So write this down. Detoxify your life. As you look at this year, starting off this year, there's some people who were in your life last year that they don't need to be in your life in 2016. And you know who they are. They're not going to help you build your business. They don't have goals and dreams. They're not working on building a bigger life. They're fine like they are, living a small life, living a life of mediocrity, and that's okay. I've got a brother that I don't take his phone call. Maybe every 10th call I might take, because it's a big call. It's not a call that's productive. I ran the calls through my mind and said, at any time have I received a call from him and it was worthwhile? No. Or call me and tell me who died, who was in my class. What? Why do you tell me about that? Tell me who's living. I'm not interested in that conversation. I don't get up reading the obituary column. There's some people, I don't care if the Cleveland Cavaliers make the playoff. I'm focused on the playoff in my own life. What do I care about that? Oh, the Lakers, boy, we need another forward, and Kobe, he's too old now. Can't even afford season tickets, and you got this conversation going. Some of the most depressing times being in a barbershop listening to the conversations of empty-headed people. Boy, if they could hear my thoughts. I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Empty conversations? Come on. Write this down. Protect your mind. You got to protect your mind. If it's not positive, if it's not productive, if it's not profitable, you can't allow it. You don't have the mental bandwidth to let it in your mind. I have to read things that will pump my mind up, that will expand my vision of myself, that will strengthen my immune system. Here's something else. I heard this choir presentation by Deepak Chopra. It's a meditation that, as a result of people doing it, scientifically proven, it expands your telomeres. Telomeres are the caps of your genes that, as they expand and lengthen, it lengthens your life. Am I saying it right, Dr. Julie? Okay. So he said, and I do this. It's a meditation. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes. Before you go to sleep, make sure it's the last thing. Ask yourself these 4 questions. Number 1, write this down. Who am I? Who am I? And just meditate on that for about 2 minutes. And different nights, different things going to come up. Sometimes it'll be repetitious. Who am I? Next question. What do I want? What do I want? Just meditate on that for 2 minutes. Next question. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? As leaders, as entrepreneurs, it helps you to get more clarity and thinking. What is my purpose? And the next question, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? I do that every night before I go to sleep and when I wake up in the morning. It's amazing of the clarity that you're going to get. It's amazing of the level of spiritual depth and expansion in your thinking. It's going to challenge you to think. It's going to push you. It's going to stretch you. And as you do this, it's proven it lengthens your telomeres, which lengthens your life. That's not very difficult. 10 minutes, 12 minutes a night, just to ponder on those questions. Don't just run through them. Start thinking about them. Dr. Howard Thurman said, he was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to Albert Schweitzer, to Mahatma Gandhi. He said, there's something in each and every one of you that waits and listens to the voice of the genuine in yourself. It will be perhaps the only voice you will ever hear. And if you cannot hear it all of your life, your days will be spent on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls.
I submit to you that there's something in you, in your heart of hearts, that caused you to be here today, that says, no one will not pull my strings. That said, I can do more and I'm going to do more. That said, I'm going to be my own voice. That said, I'm going to control my own destiny. I'm going to determine what I want to do, what I want out of life. And I'm willing to do what's required to make it become a reality. And I know it's not easy. Let us say together, it's possible. It's necessary. It's me. It's hard. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, I can do hard. Yeah. How many of you can do hard? Raise your hands, please. In order to quadruple what you've done last year, it's going to be hard, but you can do hard. But I want you to check out something here. How much time? I don't have a watch. Huh? 1 hour. Okay, good. Let's look at this. Let me have a watch so I can look at it and monitor myself. What's your story? I tell a story how I became a disc jockey. What does that have to do with anything? To Xerox, to IBM, to major corporations, to organizations. How many of you got a story? Raise your hands, please. How many of you, some of you didn't even raise your hands. You mean your life is a blank sheet? How many of you have gone through some things that you've come out on the other side? Raise your hands, please. How many of you witnessed something or someone inspired you like my mother inspired me? Raise your hands, please. How many of you have made some mistakes in your life, had some setbacks and failures, but you came through? Raise your hands, please. How many have moments in your life where you're like me, where you're temporarily insane? Raise your hands, please. Some people raise 2 hairs. So, we have got to look at how we can use our voice and our stories. When you speak, and Kim, there must be a way in which we can work something out. I'm doing a workshop now called Speak to the World. And the reason, thank you so much, Samson, the reason that I'm doing this, do you imagine 30,000 people, over 30,000 people killed themselves, over 30,000 people died from gunshot wounds, and 2/3 of them were suicides. And the majority of those who killed themselves were teenagers. Now, mind you, we live in a country where people risk their lives to get here. And they did this study, the CDC Center, that said more Americans died last year from suicide than from traffic accidents. Now, hear me clearly, why this work is important to me and why your voice and your story is important. Ladies and gentlemen, when you speak, you distract people from their story of hopelessness. You distract people from the story of, there's no more value for my life. You distract people from the negative proliferation of conversations by these politicians who paint a gloomy picture. These rich, spoiled brats bullying people to believe in the things that they're saying, who never had to work in their lives. I just can't. I used to do a series with Trump. Let me tell you something. This is a great country. You have greatness within you. Country is a reflection of the people. Don't let somebody tell you, whose father's given them $200 million to pursue their dream, that this is not a great country. If you would get $200 million for your dream, do you have a good shot? Raise your hands, please. I'm serious. $200 million, $1 million. I had 2 pieces of sugar cane. How you gonna tell me? How you gonna tell me? I had 2 pieces of sugar cane, and I didn't have the complexion of connection. All right, come on, give me a break. I had 2 pieces of sugar cane. You can tell me. And I've earned over $65 million in my lifetime. I don't tell you that to impress you, but to impress upon you, you got greatness in you. I'm so thankful that Mike Williams said, Brownie, stop arguing with me about what you can't do. Stop arguing for your limitations, because if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. You got greatness in you. I said, but Mike, how? How can I do what Zig does? How can I do what Jim Rohn is doing? He says, Brownie, commit yourself. He says, all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. You can learn. Commit yourself to create a new life for yourself. How many of you are willing to commit yourself? Raise your hands, please. And you know, a commitment is different between bacon and eggs. Next time you have it, the chicken was involved. The pig was committed. Some of y'all are real slow. Some of y'all are real slow. You've got to give it all up. You've got to give it all up. You've got to say to yourself, no. No. When they told me at Florida Hospital around 3 years ago, your PSA, which stands for prostate specific antigen, your PSA is 2,400. And cancer's metastasized to 7 areas of your body, and including the bones. We're coming out of the hospital, Dr. Julie Van Putten, who is an MD from The Ohio State University and PhD in integrative medicine. She stopped and looked at me. We were in the parking lot, and she said, we're going to defeat this at the cellular level. And when she spoke, it's like it was a jarring experience that I felt it at the cellular level. And now today, as I stand before you, my PSA, we're just at Florida Hospital 2 weeks ago, my PSA is 0. 0. Cancer-free, debt-free, and drama-free. Can you feel it, brother? Up in here, all right? Now, so the reason that the suicide rate is so high is that people are listening to these politicians who are painting a picture for their own political gain of hopelessness. You got to turn the television off. You got to listen to things that will empower you, things that will strengthen you. I don't care who's in the White House, I'm going to still make some money. How many feel like that? Raise your hands, please. I don't care who's in the White House, I control my personal economy. How many of you want to control your personal economy? Raise your hands, please. And that's why you're here. That's what this organization is all about. You're controlling your own personal economy regardless of the Democrats, the Independents, Republicans, regardless of all of them. I'm telling what I know. You control your destiny, and you've got to be convicted in your spirit that you're going to do that. My kids, they now understand why I did what I did, and using my story to create a new life for myself. Your story, there's something you've experienced, there's something you've learned, there's something you've gone through, there's something you experienced. By your creating value for an audience, it will make a difference in somebody's life. This is a man who changed my life. He has a book, and make sure you get it. Write this down. You get it on Amazon. The Road to Your Best Stuff. Mike Williams, The Road to Your Best Stuff. He changed my life. He told me, he said, you can work and train yourself, Brownie, to do more. You can compete with these guys. Doesn't matter because they have PhDs and MBAs. What matters is, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe that you can do it? That's major. You got to believe. As you get ready to hear Kim, you've got to say to yourself, I know that this is going to be my best year ever. I know that I have what it takes. I know that I can do more and I can achieve more. I know that I can build an organization with people that are eagles, people who want more, people who are willing to drive and work and develop themselves. You got to have that kind of spirit. That's what I had to go through over and over again, facing no's and rejections. What college you go to? I didn't go to college, sir. In fact, when I was in school, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade and failed again in the 8th grade. He said, are you kidding me? And you're going to come in and train us to do what? Can you imagine? I put that up front. And I said, how to begin to bring out the greatness in you. And I was engaged to this lady. She asked me to come to lunch about having the opportunity to meet a friend of hers named Rosalind. I did not know at that time Rosalind was a psychiatrist. So we went to lunch, and so let's tell Rosalind what you're going to do. This time, I had resigned from the Ohio legislature. I was going back to Miami to take care of my mother. My mother was suffering from breast cancer. I decided I was going to become a speaker. So, Mr. Brown, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a motivational speaker. She said, what is that? I said, well, I will be speaking to corporations and organizations how to develop their leadership skills, how to increase their revenue, how to improve their customer service, how to bring out the best in them. She said, what college did you go to? I said, no college. In fact, I was labeled educable mentally retarded when I was in school and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, failed again when I was in the 8th grade. And I feel that will give me an advantage because I didn't let that stop me. So she said, how much will you charge? I said, at that time, this is 1980, I said about $1,000 an hour. $1,000 an hour. Have you ever earned $1,000 an hour before? I said, no. Have you ever earned $1,000 in a week? I said, no, but I believe this would be a good starting point. She said, excuse me, Mr. Brown, Mildred, can we go to the restroom? And so they left. After around 20 minutes, came back. Mildred's eyes were red. I can tell she'd been crying. So Rosalind said, it's a pleasure meeting you, Mr. Motivator. And looked at me and looked at Mildred. She said, good luck, and left. So I said, what did she say? She said, Les, Mildred said, Les, Rosalind is a respected psychiatrist. She said, you're suffering from delusions of grandeur. I said, is that a good thing? She said, no. She said, you're out of touch with reality. What do you mean? She said, the fact that you don't understand me, it proves her point. You had a good job at Sears. Why don't you go back there? You have potential, but you don't have any money. Broke off the engagement. Devastated. And interesting thing about life. 6 weeks later, I did a presentation for 6 weeks in a row. It's possible, it's necessary, it's you, it's hard, it's worth it, it's done. Everybody, let us say together, it's not over until I win. I kept saying to myself, I'm going to do this. Things are going to work out. I kept saying that to myself, even though I had no evidence to point to, even though I had no customers. I kept saying to myself, I kept believing, reading my cards. I'm the #1 motivational speaker on the planet. I kept affirming to myself, I have the ability to change people's lives through tears. I used to stand looking out the window of the 21st floor of the Penobscot building, looking at the lights of all the businesses at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and say, all those lights are the lights of dreamers. Those are dreams out there. And one of those lights represents my dream. I would walk the floor at night thinking, I'm going to do this. Things are going to happen. I kept believing that. Hiding in a closet when the janitorial staff came so they couldn't see me sleeping in my office. And then, when my staff had come in, 3 people, Sue said, oh my God, this can't be true. Sue, what's happening? Oh no. No, this can't be true. Sue, what's going on? She said, Boo, look at this. Is this real? This man wrote a letter named Roger King saying he saw Les in an interview and he wants Les to do a talk show. And they've sent, no, I can't believe this. What did they send, Sue? What is it? Let me see this. Oh my God. It can't be. A check with my name on it. $2.5 million. Oh, come on. Somebody's playing a joke on me. It says King World, Les. They sponsor Oprah. No. Oh, God. Let's go to the bank. Let's go to the bank. Let's see what happens. I waited in line. I said, here. I'd like to deposit this. I said, we need to call somebody out. They called the assistant out. You Les Brown? Yes. Can you show us the identification? Y'all see me here every week. I know, but Mr. Brown, just procedure. I said, I just want to cash it, not the whole thing. Just on $100,000. I said, just a minute. They came back. I said, it's good. How would you like it? You say it's good? Yes, how would you like it? $100 bills. My cousin Boo was there with me, and my oldest son. This is crazy. I should say this. This is crazy. So, Kim, you can tell crazy people will not use the money, right? So we checked into one of the nice hotels in Columbus, the Neal House Hotel, and said, let's go shopping. Boo loves to cook, so he's got all type of cooking utensils. I went to the bookstore, bought around $600 worth of motivational books and cassette tapes. And then, so that was like $800. So we then went back to the hotel, Boo and my oldest son. So we said, well, let's count it out. So we counted out on the bed, we counted out. And then I looked at Boo, I said, are you thinking what I'm thinking? He said, yes. And we both jumped to the bed and said, we're rolling in money. My son looked at us, he must have been about 12 or 13. He said, you guys have lost your minds. What are you doing? I said, I don't know. And we just cried and we thank God. We're so thankful that we had a breakthrough. And Mike Williams, who my mentor, Brownie, this is not a destination. There are no overachievers in the universe. This is just a place that you're coming through. There's more work for you to do. Don't become obsessed with the money. Continue to do what brought you here. What brought you here, Brownie? I love to help people. I love to help people. Don't ever lose that, Brownie. Don't ever lose that. That's why I work with you, because you're different. You love people. This is why you do this. If you keep that in your heart, you will always be successful. Well, I'm Mike. Yes, Brownie. You will always be successful. Everybody, put your hand over your heart. I pledge to love people, to serve people, to give my best, to help them to live their dreams, to distract them from the story that life has given them, to give them a new story, to empower them, to write a new chapter. I pledge to be the message that I bring, a message of hope, of love, of inspiration. I pledge to be an instrument for goodness in the world, to have integrity, to give my best at all times, under all circumstances. I pledge to teach people how to own their life. And so it is. Shake someone's hand on your right and left, look them in the eyes and say, this is going to be your best year ever. Do that now. Say that with conviction, because there are negative thoughts in you that speaks against that. Let's do it again. Shake someone's hand on your right, your left, around you, in front of you, and say, this is going to be your best year ever. Anybody have any questions you'd like to ask me? I still am. After all this time, I'm hungry. There's something I want you to do. When we're kids, our parents teach us, don't talk to what? Don't talk to strangers. If you're going to build a business, guess what you have to do? You got to talk to strangers. Am I correct? This is major what I'm going to ask you to do right now. In building your business, write this down. Be a great listener. Be a great listener. You want to listen to people. You want to hear their story. There's a lot of pain out here now. A lot of fear and a lot of uncertainty. In less than 10 years, most people that you've invited to be to the business and they're not here, they have no clue about what's coming. In less than 10 years, 1/3 of the jobs that exist today will be gone, replaced by what is called mechanized intelligence. Mechanized intelligence. So, you're giving people not only hope, but you're giving people a vehicle that allows them to control their personal economy, that allows them not to be among those people who feel there's no more use for them in life and they decide to take their lives. So, your ability to hear people, most people want to be heard. Your ability not to advance with the product, not to advance with the opportunity, not to advance with the business, but your ability, and write this down, to listen and build relationships. Listen and build relationships. Ask questions. Build relationships. Find out who they are. And give some insight into who you are, because when you're speaking, when you're able to, in a succinct way, to give people a glimpse of you, because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So they're always asking, who are you, what do you have, and Why should I care? But you want to know who they are, and all I get and get understanding. And I'm telling you, if you do this, I've built an organization with over 50,000 people. I'm telling you what I know. There's no theory. You build an organization where you're listening to people and you're building relationships and you're able to inspire people to pursue and to reach beyond their dreams, to reach beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances. That's what Mike Williams did. He convinced me, Brownie, you are more than a disc jockey. He convinced me I can do more. He convinced me that I have the ability to do more than I can ever begin to imagine. I started doing concerts. And he convinced me, you need to bring these guys into town. I said, why? These are little young kids. They had a song called I Want You Back. And that guy standing out front, that's Michael Jackson at age 10. That's me standing in the back. I was weighing at that time 175 pounds. Here's what. When I had you shake someone's hand and say, you have greatness within you, you have no idea whose hand you shook. You have no idea who you're seated next to. I didn't know who he was going to become. He didn't know who I was going to become. The people seated in this room, whose hand you shake and say, you've got greatness in you. Whose hand you shake and say, you can do more. Whose hand you shake and say, this is going to be your best year ever. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Words are powerful. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. Monitor your words. When I go for a walk, when I go back home to Orlando, I give thanks. My body is producing powerful white blood cells that kill quickly and permanently every renegade cancer cell in my body. I give thanks I am healed. I give thanks that I'm younger. I look younger. I give thanks that 40 is the new 70, and I look it, baby. I talk to myself. You have to talk to yourself to override the negative things. And so you don't know who's next to you, and they don't know who's next to them. There's greatness in this room. There's greatness in you. Let us say together, there's greatness in this room. There's greatness in me. There are record breakers in this room. We're going to have an explosive year, unlike they've ever seen before. This is our time. How many like to make a difference in your community? Listen to Choosing Your Future. Listen to It's Not Over Till I Win. Listen to those videos at lesbrownmotivation.com. I ran for the Ohio legislature. I was elected to 3 terms. And I became the chairman of the Human Resource Committee and the Education Committee. I had no idea I had the ability to do it. There are things you can do you haven't even reached for yet. You have no idea. I passed 14 bills in my first term. I wanted to put this to test. I said, before I stand up and tell people you have greatness within you, I want to have a track record of achievement. Does that make sense? Okay, so I had no political experience, but I was testing myself. You want to test yourself. You want to have some goals for yourself this year, that as you think about what you want to earn this year, you want some goals that goes beyond that. Why? Because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. Does that make sense? So I had to reinvent myself. I had to die who I was to give birth to who I can become. And so that's a new guy there. And I was a dominant voice when it came to debating. I miss it every day when I look at television and see these debaters, these politicians. I mean, I used to take no prisoners and eat the wounded. I did. So I was elected from the 29th House District. I resigned and went back to take care of my mama. That's mama there. She was 89 at the time. That's my why. What is your why? How many of you have someone you love that if something happened to them, you want them to know you will be there for them? Raise your hands, please. I made the decision that you have made. My brothers and sisters weren't being inconsiderate and not being respectful. They had jobs. And working a job, they didn't have the money to take care of mama. 95% of the people who filed bankruptcy do so because of medical expenses. I was an entrepreneur. I learned how to make money as an entrepreneur, building my organization in Best Line Products. A guy named Bill Bailey, who's one of the mentors of Jim Rohn. And so I did what you did, some of you right here. I took a chance on me. I knew I was limited as how much I was going to earn on a job. And I wanted more. How many of you want more? Raise your hands, please. I wanted more. And I knew I can create more. I just knew it in my heart of hearts. And I want you to have that spirit. You got to have it 24/7. It's not something, a consciousness you bounce in and out of. You got to know it. You've got to read things that fuel and strengthen your faith and allow your doubts to starve to death. You got to come out from among people that are negative. You don't want to listen to conversations of people who tell you what you can't do. No. And so I went back to take care of mama. Things opened up for me. It was hard at first. But Leslie, are you sure you did the right thing, son? Leaving office to take care of me? You didn't have to do this. I said, you didn't have to adopt us either. And you did. I saw you wash people's clothes, keep their children, cook for them. You would go to work and tell Arthur's bothering me. Mama, who's Arthur? Don't worry, son, you live long enough, you'll find out. And she was talking about arthritis. I saw her with her swollen ankles and swollen knees. I would watch her when I'd go to work with her. Mama, what is it, Leslie? When will I be a man? When you're 18. When I become a man, you'd never have to work again. When I become a man, I'm going to set you down. You'd never have to pay another bill. Leslie, would you please go outside and finish doing the raking? I've done it, Mama, so I can come talk to you. Tell me that story again. When you woke up in the middle of the night and you heard your father talking to himself. And this spirit, this image came in the room. Leslie, I've told you that story so many times. I know, Mama, but tell me again. My mother was a great storyteller. I did not know, as I look back now, I did not know. My mother was preparing my mind. She's a great storyteller. You know why I'm successful? I can tell a good story. How many of you like stories? Raise your hands, please. I love my mother to tell me stories. And I love them. My brothers and sisters would be outside playing or watching television. They weren't interested, but I was fascinated with Mama, who said, I woke up and my father, he's making his noise, oh. And all of a sudden, I saw this lady. It was like, I can't explain it, Leslie. She had a dog with her. The dog stared at me. I couldn't move. And she had a bushel of flowers with her. And she walked past me. And after a while, my father came out of the room. I said, what did he say, Mama? What did he say? He said, did you see anything come out of my room? And she said, yes, I saw a lady with a bushel of flowers. She was very tall and she had shoulder-length hair. She said, "That was your mother. But you told me my mother was dead." She is dead. That's her spirit. "I'm sorry for how I beat you. Your mother told me never to lay a hand on you again. I apologize. I was angry when I beat you with that buggy whip because I didn't want you going down to the lake and risk being eaten by an alligator. You're so hard-headed." And I lost my temper. I promised her I would never beat you again. "You can go now." "Where will I go?" "I don't know. You're 12 years old. Take what you want and go. You must go." I said, "What did you do then, Mama?" She said, I was crying and said, "Daddy, I don't know where I'm going." He said, "Somebody will help you." I said, "What did you do then, Mama?" "Leslie, just be quiet and listen." I got what little things I could that I could carry. And I walked into town. How far was it? Just waited, let me tell you, Leslie. It's about 8 or 9 miles. What time was it? It was in the middle of the night, I told you. "What did you do then?" A man named Mr. Henry, who was a friend of my father's, he played checkers with. I told him that my father told me I had to go. And he talked with his wife, and they said that I can stay with them for a while. Whoa, and what happened then? "Your mama used to sing, Leslie." "You did?" "Yes." And I would sing. He had a nightclub, and I would sing. They gave me a lot of makeup so I'd look like a grown-up. Wow, Mama. Oh, what did you sing? "Don't know why." And then she would do this song by Nat King Cole, and I would listen. That's why I love stories. We live in stories. And there are people who you talk to, they need you to hear their story. People who you talk to, they need you to interrupt their story, just like Mike Williams interrupted mine. My twin brother. We're different in day and night. Day and night, he's living the same story. He can't hear it from me. I've been trying. I saw him a few weeks ago, and for the first time, I spent time with my twin brother, and we didn't argue because, Kim, I didn't try and change him. I just loved him as he is. How many of you know there are some people, they're okay as they are? They're fine. How many know people like that? You look at them and say, how could you settle for that? That's none of my spiritual business. My job is to love my brother. He's a good man. Took a bullet in Vietnam. Good father, good soldier, good husband, and a good brother. And I do what I can if he asks me, but never speak where you don't have a voice. Does that make sense? Anybody ever spoke where you didn't have a voice? Where you spoke again and again and again and made no progress? Raise your hands, you ever seen that? No progress. So, that's my why. Think about why you're in this business. So when the tough times come, they're going to come. When you take some hits, they're going to happen. When you get rejections and you get some crazies in your organization and you feel frustrated, that's going to happen. Some of you have already seen some of the crazies and you're laughing already, all right? So I wanted to be on stage with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And he wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and we shared it. Mr. Brown, I admire you, young man. You sent me that letter. Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you land among the stars. Mr. Brown, every time I speak, That's how I enter the conversation and I end my presentation. Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. I admire you for that quote, young man. How many ever seen that quote? Raise your hands, please. I sent that to him when I was in school. Yeah. I spoke at, how many have a college education? Raise your hands, please. My son and I just spoke for the third time at Harvard University. And when you can tell your story, it gives you credibility. That's why I speak to the world. I think it's important. I had a show on PBS. I'm just showing you the range of these things that can happen. This is no theory. These are things that have happened for me, things that I've done. It increases your brand. Toastmasters won their highest award from the Golden Gavel Award. And so you are a global voice, Kim. Kim, there are no women on the horizon. There are no women out here. None. 67% of people come to seminars and workshops are females. And Samson, you got a voice. Yvonne, you got a voice. You have to develop a global mindset. I remember Mike was telling me what I can do, and all of a sudden the phone went dead. I called him back. I said, the phone, we lost the signal. He said, we didn't lose the signal. I said, what happened? He said, I hung up. I said, why did you do that? He said, you were arguing too much for your limitations. He said, I didn't need to hear that, Brownie. I know what you can do. I wish you believed in you like I believed in you. And so it made a difference. Who would have thought? And there are many of you in this room, you didn't start out there. I want you to shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, I have got to go big. What's key in presenting is creating an experience that has value for the people that are listening. So this is a signature message that I have given and told around the world, and probably over 40 countries collectively. Everybody repeat again, you got to be hungry. Ladies and gentlemen, people that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. I remember now watch the transition. So I made a point, you got to be hungry, right? Now you're going to see how it shows up in my presentation. I never forget from Mr. Washington, Mr. Brown. This is the story behind the point. What do you want to do with your life? Sir, I want to be successful. Sir, I want to make my mother proud. Sir, I want to buy my mother a home. He said, in order to be successful, you've got to be hungry. People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry are disciplined. People that are hungry are focused. People that are hungry are relentless. I said, sir, all my life people compared me with my brother because he's smarter than I am, or my sister who graduated from the University of Miami. I want to prove that I'm not a loser, sir. I want to prove to everybody that I can have some value too. He said, Mr. Brown, you got to be hungry. How do you plan to do that? I like to become a disc jockey, sir. I love radio. He said, good. He said, here's what I want you to do. Here's my car keys. At lunchtime, I want you to go to my car and listen to a guy named Paul Harvey. He's the world's greatest communicator. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what your dreams are. It might be in insurance. It might be in real estate. It might be in finances. Find someone that you can study, someone that have the skill level that you want, because success leaves clues. And you want to emulate them. You want to study them. And so I did that. Lunchtime, I would go and I listened to Paul Harvey. He had a program called The Rest of the Story. He was a master storyteller. And so he said something else. He said, practice OQP. Let us say together, OQP. OQP. Everybody together, OQP. OQP. Only quality people. Yes, he said, surround yourself with only quality people. You want to be successful? He said, look at the people in your life and ask the question, what kind of person am I becoming? You earn within $2,000 to $3,000 of your closest friends. My mother used to say, birds of a feather flock together. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough said, raise the bar on yourself. If you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. And so you need to look at the people in your life and ask the question, what kind of person am I becoming? And the other thing that he said, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And so I did the things that he said. I changed my relationships. I listened to Paul Harvey, and I studied his style of speaking. And I was very conscious and mindful of how I spoke every day. I read out loud so that I can improve my style of communication, so that I'll be able to adjust my languaging style to the corporations that I wanted to speak to. And I came to him, I said, I've done the things that you told me to do. He said, all right, Mr. Brown, it's time for you to go out into the marketplace. And he said, don't forget, you got to be hungry. And I said, why do you keep on saying that? He said, you're the first student in special education that I gave a scholarship to. You turned it down. Why? Well, sir, several teachers met with me, and they said that I was not college material, and the professors would not have patience with me like you have with me, and that I would bring embarrassment to your name. I've never known my father, sir, and I would never want to bring embarrassment to your name. He said, Mr. Brown, he said, I know that you're not as fast as your brother or sister. I know it's harder for you than most students, but I know that you're hungry. And I know that you'll give all you've got. I believe in you. And sometimes, Mr. Brown, you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. I said, thank you, sir. And so I went to apply for a job on Miami Beach. Milton Butterball Smith was the program director. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. Young man, do you have any journalism in your background? No, sir, I don't. Do you have any experience in broadcasting? No, sir, but let me audition for you, sir. Let me show you how good I am. He says, no, we don't have any job for you. How many of you have ever been rejected? Raise your hands, please. I was devastated with rejection. I went back and I said, Mr. Washington. They said no. He said, don't take it personally. Most people are so negative, they have to say no 7 times before they say yes. He said, you got to be hungry. Go back again. I said, yes, sir. I went back again. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. I know what your name is. Weren't you here yesterday? Yes, sir, I was. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir, you did. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone was laid off or someone was fired, sir. No one was laid off or fired. Now get on out of here. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was singing for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 2 days? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no the last 2 days? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir. No one got sick or died. No one was laid off or fired. Now, don't you come back here again. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was singing for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you? He looked at me with rage. He said, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. My favorite book says the greatest among you will be your servant. How many of you are serious about living your dream? Raise your hands, please. Write this down. Provide more service than you get paid for. The day is gone where you can say, oh, that's not in my job description. You've got to be willing to do whatever is required. A lady who became a dominant voice in an industry that had been dominated by men, they asked the question, how did you get here? She said, it's not our intention to please our customers or to satisfy our customers. Our intention is to amaze them with the quality of the service that we provide. So I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'd go get their lunch and dinner and stand in the control room watching them move their hands on the control room boards, knowing my time will come. Let us say together, I expect to win. I just wanted to get my foot in the door. I wanted them to see that I was serious. I wanted them to see me as a resource person. On the weekend, they'd come out to the parking lot, and their cars would be cleaned and waxed inside out. And they said, hey, who did this? I did, sir. How much do you charge, young man? Oh, nothing, sir. I just wanted to help out. And they were amazed with that. I was building relationships. Let us say build relationships. I was building relationships based upon my performance, based upon what I did. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. They said, look here are my car keys. Donna Ross and the Supremes are coming to town. The Four Tops and the Temptations. I want you to pick them up and drive them to the Fontainebleau Hotel on Miami Beach. I said, it'd be my pleasure to serve you, sir. I drive these entertainers on Miami Beach in the disc jockeys' big long Cadillacs. I didn't have any driver's license, but I was driving like I had one. Then one day is a Saturday afternoon. A disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. Rockin' Roger got so drunk, he could not complete his show. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was the only one there, looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth, young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock. I'd go and get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was the general manager, and I answered the phone. I said, hello? He said, young boy, this is Mr. Klein. I said, I know. He said, Rock can't finish his program. I said, I know. He said, would you call one of the other DJs in? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up. I said, now he must think I'm crazy. I called my mama and my girlfriend Cassandra. I said, y'all come out on the front porch and turn on the radio. I'm about to come on the air. I waited for about 20 minutes and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, you know how to work the controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there and segue the records, but don't you say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get old Rock out of the way. I put on a fast record. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P. Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There was none before me and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. Give it a... What did you notice about that presentation? Hello? A little hungry. Hello? Say it again. Engaging, riveting. What else? Exciting. What else? Inspiring. Anybody else? Persistence, that's the signature. Go ahead. Visual, you can see it. Yeah, it took you there. Yes, ma'am. Confidence, right. Write this down. Experience the experience. Yes, sir, you just had your hand up. The story brought you closer to me, and that's the main thing. That's the purpose of having a signature message, because the story, you have a global message. And the story, and I gave an example earlier, well, the people from all walks of life, since I last saw you, we've spoken in over 23 countries. It brings the people to you. People want stories of hope. This is different than politicians. This is different from religious people who unwittingly polarize and divide people. Stories of hope by ordinary people who can inspire extraordinary performances. Does that make sense? How many of you hearing stories of hope, it makes you feel better? Raise your hands, please. And so that's the opportunity, what you have. That when you have a story that you tell strategically, that is designed to inspire people, that's designed to distract them from the story they currently believe about themselves. Distract, dispute. Through the execution of the story, you dismantle their limited belief system. Distract, dispute, and inspire. And inspire them to become a pencil in the hand of God, as Mother Teresa would say, and start writing a new chapter with their lives. I love that. I love stories. And there are a lot of stories in this room. You're not here by accident. You could be someplace else. I now know every lecture, every book I read, every seminar that I sat in, it was designed. There was something there for me. Some of you hear me in your ears. Some of you hear me in your heart. There are certain people that I'm going to reach. But there are certain people, when you speak, that you're going to reach them because of your energy signature, because of your passion, because of your personality, because of your heart. That when you speak, there's something about you that as you speak, their lives will never be the same again. Never. Because they were in your presence. Any questions, please? You're all so quiet. Can you tell I love this? But guess what? The reason you're in this room, because you and I are cut from the same cloth. We're branches of the same tree. If you did not know in your heart of hearts you can do what I've done, transform millions of people's lives around the world, plus more, you wouldn't be here, because there would be something in your heart of hearts saying, you can't do that. You would see me as an exception as opposed to an example of what's in you. I only attract great speakers or great speakers in training. Great people or great people in training. Give yourselves a round of applause. Come on, bring your energy level up. I have enjoyed this. I'd like to entertain any questions that you might have. We don't have time for that? Yes, sir. Then we'll do this. We end up. Yes.
My name is Darren. I would like to know if we can recall or go back into your mind and tell us what was that critical moment when you went from unbelief to belief.
When that guy said, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. When he said that, I had rejected, Darren, myself so many times. How many of you ever rejected yourself? So many times. I told myself I couldn't do it. But it comes in different times, different stages, different moments. Sometimes you can see a movie and a line will come up. I saw this movie, Magnolia, Tom Cruise, and there's a line in there, we might be through with our past, but our past is not through with us. I listen for quotes everywhere. Words are powerful. And that's why I said being a good listener, but also assuming the mindset. I have greatness in me. That's why I said over and over and over again. Why? Because faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And as you assume that and act like that and conduct yourself in that way, our thoughts have magnetic power. I was about to call a friend the other day, and before I could dial the number, he was already calling me. How many of you ever had that happen to you? Our thoughts have magnetic power. What we're doing now is harnessing our thoughts and training our minds to serve us. I want to thank you. This is my signature close. I don't know what you want to do. You're going to hear more from a person that I admire, who is a global voice, who is destined to change millions of people's lives. And there are those of you in this room. That's in your future. I see that for you, even if you don't see it. I believe that for you, that the world needs you now more than ever before. My mother used to hear me say this, and she loved it. Leslie, yes, ma'am, Mama. Say that thing for me, boy, that makes me feel good. Yes, ma'am, Mama. I will. It says simply this: if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish, or cold, sickness or pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy and Kim Wee's pride and joy. God bless you, and God bless your dream. Thank you very much. Come on, y'all can do better than that.
Let's give it up for Mr. Les Brown. Well, we're very fortunate. Did you enjoy it? Did you learn something very important today? Please give another big hand. Well, at this time, we want to thank him. But also, I'd like to bring up to the stage Dr. Julie Van Patten, also, his partner. Please come up. Please give her a hand. What a gentleman and scholar. And then next, I want to welcome a lady. This event wouldn't have happened because of her, because her ability to build relationship with people with great value, amazing, and we're very fortunate. Please welcome to the stage my friend Kim Hui.
Thank you very much. I'd like to keep Les here for a second more. Is that okay? Thank you, Dr. Julie. Les, Mr. Brown, thank you for taking me on an experience to experience your world. And for many of us, some of you know the story, some of you don't. And it's of tremendous meaning and purpose. Oh, by the way, please be seated. Thank you very much. It's of tremendous meaning for me as a human being to have shared the stage right here, and to have Les Brown right here in San Gabriel Valley, a place where I grew up. There is something at work here, and I want to tell this. Some of you know the story, some of you don't. But I want to tell the story of how this whole thing came about. And everything that Les talked about, it is life. In 1994, that's when I started network marketing. And I recalled that there's one message, there's one voice that resonates with me. Through my sponsor, through some of the leadership in that company, they recommended Les Brown. So I would put Les, his videotape. At that time, I couldn't afford to go see Les in person. So I would pop Les' cassette tape onto my car everywhere I went. I read his books. And the story he told earlier about that Kim that went to see a meeting, that was me. And it came so vividly, and it brought it home because I put the last $20 of the cash that I had, I put it in my car to drive up to San Francisco to showcase the business that I was in to a prospect with great hope and great inspiration. Say, I'm going to build a big group in San Francisco. So I drove all the way up there, signed them up. Then on the way back, just when I thought that I got something started in San Francisco, on the way back, a phone call came in. And it was that person that just enrolled. He called me and said, you know what, Kim? I changed my mind. Please cancel my application. See, back then we didn't have online enrollment. So now how would you feel? You took the last $20, put in the gas tank, drove all that way by yourself, and coming back. And I could still remember at that time I was devastated. But somehow, somewhat, something within me tells me, you know what? Just keep on going. Just keep on going. Just keep going. Don't listen to the voice. And you know what I did at that time? I popped that cassette tape of yours in my car. And that cassette tape says, you've got to be hungry. And I was famished. And I said, someday I get to tell Mr. Brown in person that says your tape helped change my life. Your message, your voice of hope, your being. It's as if you were speaking to me, Les. And who would have thought 22 years later that I have the honor and the blessing to tell Mr. Brown in person that story? What would have happened 20-somewhat years ago when challenges came, when disappointment came, when rejection came, that I gave up? We wouldn't have what we have here today. Les, you have changed millions of lives around the world. And one that's very near and dear is standing right in front of you. If you only knew Les, I followed Les' training, his content, his substance, his persona, who he is as a human being. If you only grasp some of the meaning, some of the stories, some of the I can't articulate to words what that thing is. But if you could just grasp that thing beyond the experience, beyond the things that we felt here, that I couldn't articulate to words. If you knew what Les had gone through, and if you knew what I had gone through to be here, standing next to Les, you know that dreams do come true. That it is possible. That dreams, if you dare to dream, you better dare to be different. And you better dare to win. So this afternoon, we're going to do a training. So we're going to do a quick lunch break. But one more time, let's give. You have no idea, of all places, Les has traveled speaking to all these countries. If you read his books and pop his taping, if you listen enough of Les, you have no idea how it makes me feel to have the blessing and the honor to invite Les here to our hometown, to my hometown, St. Gabriel Valley. So with that, another big round of applause. Thank you very much, Les. Thank you.